Error 19. You promised to give her back when I had kids. Now I'm dying. And she's still locked in your closet. You know what's worse than death? Being forgotten, even after you die. 21 years after her mother passed from a sudden heart attack, Rachel Newman stood in a crowded courtroom, staring down the woman she once called family. Melissa Green, her ex-sister-in-law, wore a bright floral blouse like it was Sunday brunch instead of Judgment Day, and the ashes of Rachel's mother, still sitting in an urn, on a shelf, in Melissa's coat closet, untouched for 2 decades. Rachel's voice shook. We had an agreement, she said. You promised when I had children you'd give her back to me. Melissa didn't blink, and I never agreed to that. She claimed Rachel's mother had made a different wish, to be scattered at a lakeside in upstate New York, a place where her father once docked his boat, a place Melissa had never been able to find. So I kept her, she said, folding her arms like she was holding onto a sweater, not someone's mother. Rachel felt the courtroom grow smaller, the weight of time, of betrayal pressing against her ribs. She wasn't just here for a legal win, she was here because she didn't have long. I've been diagnosed, Rachel finally said. 2 terminal conditions. I don't know how much time I have left. I need my mom now more than ever. The judge went quiet. Even Melissa flinched. Rachel had waited through weddings, birthdays, heartbreaks, all without her mother. Now her daughter Grace, named after her grandmother, was about to turn 12, and still, no ashes, no closure. She was my mom, Rachel said, barely above a whisper. Not yours. Melissa, suddenly quieter, said she wasn't trying to be cruel, she just didn't know where exactly to scatter them, and wanted to do it right. But Rachel wasn't buying that anymore, because now there was something else on the line. Time. Melissa's hesitation wasn't about respect. It was about control, about fear, maybe even guilt. And when the judge asked them both a simple question, when can you honor her wish? Rachel spoke first. May 15th. It's Grace's birthday. She was named after my mother, and it's time. Melissa nodded, slowly, like she knew she couldn't delay this anymore. Not for 3 more years. Not for 1. Narration ends. Because some promises don't expire. Not after 20 years. Not even after death. I was there when she said it. Plain as day. Don't bury me. Take me to the lake where my father docked his boat. Narration begins. They sat across from each other in Rachel's kitchen. 2 women, 2 decades of resentment, and 1 urn, still sealed, still waiting. The courtroom had ordered them to work together, but this wasn't cooperation. It was a standoff. Rachel sipped her coffee. Her hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from chemo. Melissa, unusually quiet, brought a photo album. Faded pages, yellowed edges, and in between, a snapshot. Rachel's mother, arms outstretched, standing beside a small wooden dock, water glistening behind her. The smile real. This is where she wanted to go, Melissa said. She told me the summer before she died. Rachel narrowed her eyes. She told me something else. She said she wanted to be with her grandkids, to protect them. Melissa shook her head. She said that when you were still lost, still figuring out your life, but later, when it was just her and me, out at the shore, she was clear. She didn't want a grave. She wanted a goodbye. And just like that, the silence between them wasn't cold anymore. It was sad. They weren't fighting over ashes. They were fighting over memories, over who had the right version of the past. Rachel's daughter Grace stood at the door, quiet, listening. She had never seen a picture of her grandmother so full of life. She had never even been told her real story. Where is that place? Grace asked softly. Melissa looked up, startled. Upstate, near Saratoga Springs, a lake, a dock that doesn't exist anymore. But I know how to find it. Rachel's eyes filled with tears. It had never been about keeping the ash. It was about not knowing how to say goodbye. And now, with Grace watching, there was no more room for delay. We do this together, Rachel said. Me, you and Grace. We finish it. For her. Melissa nodded. For her. They turned back to the photo. A note scribbled on the back in fading blue ink. Best day. Quiet water. Tell them I want to come back here. Love, Mom. Rachel clutched the photo like a relic. For the first time in years, she felt close. Narration ends. Because sometimes, The truth isn't one memory, it's what we build from all of them together. Mom can barely walk. We don't have next year, or even next month. We have today. Please, let's give her this. Narration begins. The lake looked smaller than Rachel remembered, but it was the right place. Melissa stood by the van, holding the urn like it might break open with emotion. Grace ran ahead, her sneakers crunching over the fallen pine needles. And Rachel moved slowly, supported by her daughter, every breath feeling heavier than the last. It was Grace's 12th birthday, and for the first time in her young life, she would see her mother cry, not from pain but from peace. The wind was soft. The dock had been rebuilt, and the water shimmered with that strange kind of stillness that only comes when something sacred is about to happen. She wanted peace, Rachel whispered. She always said she didn't belong in the ground. Melissa nodded. She said the water made her feel alive. For a long moment, no one moved. Rachel looked at the urn, 21 years sealed, 21 years waiting to let go. She handed it to Grace. You do it, she said. She would have wanted it to come from you. Grace stepped to the edge of the dock, knees shaking. She turned back one last time. Goodbye, Grandma, she said. We brought you home. The ashes poured gently, catching the breeze, then floating like silk across the lake's surface. The water took them in, quiet, unresisting. Rachel dropped to her knees, not from pain, from release. I'm ready now, she whispered. Melissa helped her up. For the first time in years, their arms wrapped around each other without bitterness. They had done what needed to be done, for the woman who raised them, for the child who would carry the memory forward. As they walked away from the lake, Grace slipped her hand into Rachel. Do you feel her now? She asked. Rachel smiled faintly. No, I don't feel her anymore. I think that means she's finally at peace.